If you've already binged the entirety of Stranger Things 4, then chances are A. You need help, and B. You've got Katie Bush's Running Up That Hill playing on a loop. Frankly, we don't blame you. Max's escape from Vecna was pretty darn iconic, but ever wonder how they pulled it off? In today's video, we're taking you behind the scenes of what's easily one of the best moments in Season 4. Fair warning, there will be tons of spoilers up ahead. Let's start off with the iconic moment itself. Sure, all the gang's been dealing with things, from loss to classic teen drama to struggling with identity, but you've got to admit, Max has had the most rotten luck this season. On top of dealing with guilt, fear, loneliness, and nightmares, she had to deal with almost dying at the hands of some creepy dude from the Upside Down. We feel for her. And yet for some reason, the Duffer Brothers thought that wasn't enough and ended up putting her inside Vecna's twisted mind layer. Now that was the stuff of nightmares, but it must have not been that terrifying in reality, right? Since practically everything's CGI these days anyway. Wrong. Turns out that Sadie Sink's experience filming that scene wasn't all that different from what we saw on screen. From the elaborate set design to the freakishly real dummies, intense stunts, and the bloody, murky water, a whole lot was surprisingly real in the running up that hill moment. And for the record, as much as we feel bad for Max, we're kinda glad they pushed her into the mess. Without it, we would have lost out on the defining scene of Season 4, Volume 1. Next up, we've got the big bad of Season 4. Here's how they made the terrifying Vecna a reality. Let's be honest, the images, the mind games, the super scary layer, none of it would have been truly terrifying if it weren't for the visual effects team and, of course, Vecna himself. We bet they worked overtime on this one. But get this, the visual team had nothing to do with how Vecna looked. That was all the makeup crew. Remember how Max tried to convince herself that Vecna wasn't really there, and he assured her that he was in fact very much there? Yeah, well, turns out he wasn't lying. He was there in all his moldy glory. Jamie Campbell Bower, aka Vecna, Henry 1, had to spend over 6 hours every day on the makeup chair to look that good or bad? So if the team had an early shoot day at 7 a.m., then Bower had to come in at 1 a.m. the morning before, so the team could turn him into the viney big bad. We gotta give props to the talented makeup crew, but also to Jamie, because according to reports, he never complained and would patiently sit through hours and hours of makeover. Guess it wasn't so hard to act scared when Jamie looked like that. Speaking of scared, did you know that the mind layer scene was actually the first time Sadie ever saw the actor in full Vecna getup? To say she was scared would be an understatement. Our soul would have left us, but good on Sadie for making it through. Then there's the mind layer. Just how much of it was real? More than you think. Part of why Stranger Things looks incredible on screen is because they try to use as many practical effects as possible instead of solely relying on the magic of CGI. And in a world where films use CGI for something as simple as wiping off a mustache, it really makes all the difference. Not only does it make everything look 10 times more realistic and awesome, but it also makes an actor's job easier. Sure, he's working with pretty talented kids, and young adults, but it comes in super handy when you just want the right reaction on camera. You'd actually be surprised to find out what was real and what wasn't in the mind layer scene. Remember the tormented, literally twisted bodies of poor Chrissy and Fred? Yeah, those were real. And by real, we mean they weren't some CGI trick. The bodies you saw tangled in Vecna's vines were actually real-life dummies. And the dripping blood? That was basically just glycerin, and of course, they had to use some visual effects to make it look as good as it did in the final cut. Apart from the dead bodies, you'd think the props in the background would be nothing but a big green screen. But that's just not how they do Stranger Things. One thing that most people thought wasn't really in the mind layer, but really was the half-broken winding staircase. The production team really went all in to bring the inside of Vecna's head to life. So what about everything else in that scene? If you've seen the behind-the-scenes footage of some of the most famous superhero movies, you'd probably be used to seeing a whole lot of green screen with a bunch of actors at its center. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but the behind-the-scenes of Stranger Things, especially the running up that hill moment, looks nothing like that. Sink revealed that there were many practical, very real pieces on the set. So basically everything from the pillars to the crooked, rocky ground was built by the art department. Even the bloody, muck kind of thing in there was really and insanely slippery. Can't help but wonder if Sadie actually slipped during the scene, or was it scripted? Either way, it worked out pretty well. Now, the set itself was like this raised platform built on a soundstage, but if you take a look at it, it's beyond impressive. Although, there was this one part they couldn't create practically, and that was the menacing sky in that scene. So the team had to settle for a big blue screen in the background. Of course, you could never tell after the visual effects team was done with the scene. Up next is the song that saved the day. So that was all about the set setting of Max's moments, but what about this song that saved the day? How'd Stranger Things stumble on this gem from Kate Bush? Well, apparently there's quite a fun story to it. So the Duffer Brothers and their music supervisor, Nora, separately chose Running Up That Hill for Max's escape. What are the odds, huh? All three of them thought that the lyrics fit perfectly with Max and everything she was struggling with, her past trauma, and her feelings about what happened to Billy. Well, guess if there was a perfect song for a situation, this would be it. Kate does pack quite the punch with all the right feels, doesn't she? Pretty cool how a hit from 1985 became Kate's first ever top 10 single in the United States thanks to Stranger Things. And now, a whole generation can groove to it, including the show's young gang, who continue to be blown away by all things 80s. And now, on to other Stranger Things news. Season 4 just ended, and boy, was it a satisfying watch. Not only did it keep us on the edge of our seats, it also cracked the mystery of the Upside Down and Eleven's past wide open. As much as we love Stranger Things, it would have been easy to imagine the entire series ending with the final episode, but the Duffers seem to have an entire season in mind before they call it. But hey, as long as we're getting some solid action and story, we don't mind. So what can we expect from Season 5? First off, is a time jump inevitable? Think we all noticed just how grown up the kids look this season. We don't think they can continue playing high schoolers for much longer. Millie Bobby Brown is 18 right now, and Steve, who hasn't even begun his post-high school life, is 30 IRL. Each season till now has jumped ahead a year, but keeping everyone's ages in mind, fans think it'd be better for the show to jump ahead 2 years with the 5th season. That way, the kids might be able to catch up to their actual ages and not look totally out of place. Next up, we have the setting issue. Season 4 was kinda all over the place, and we don't mean that in a bad way. It was literally all over the place, with Hopper and Joyce in Russia, half the gang out in California, and the other half back in the doomed Hawkins. Sure, it jumped between all the settings pretty smoothly, but we still missed the posse together. Good news is, Season 5 will focus on keeping everyone together in Hawkins. Finally, will we ever see Max or Eddie again? Just when you start liking a character, bam! They take him away! And that's what happened to Eddie Munson. Just when he turned into a fan favorite, he went on and sacrificed himself. Pretty heroically, we might add, but we'd still like to see some of his crazy in Season 5. Sadly, his death was real. There might be some Eddie flashbacks in the upcoming season, but that's about it. As for Max, fans are convinced if the show wanted her dead, she'd be dead, and not comatose in a hospital. So there are chances that we might get to see her again. Not sure if she'll be skateboarding anytime soon, but we'll take what we can get. And that about wraps up our video for today, folks. What did you think about Stranger Things 4? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.